start the review. All right. And I'm doing this so that way I can keep my thoughts in line. Lords of the Fallen. Review notes. Fuck. Getting a tutorial. Okay. Ordered list. All right, let's start this off. I'm going to do the pros first. Bro, is there not a way to fucking increase the font? Increase the size? Jesus Christ, what the fuck? All right. Pros. Atmosphere. So this game's got a lot of good. First things first is obviously I think what really drew the general populace into even wanting to try this game is the overall atmosphere / theme. Very dark, dark fantasy, crusader themed, religious religious themes. A lot of the weapon and armor designs had the thorns. A lot of it had a lot of Christian or Catholic thematic items and sets and symbolisms, etc., throughout the entirety of the game. I mean, obviously, this game is probably every guy that's aged from 16 to 30 who was always interested in these kind of things growing up. Everybody can look at the Crusades being really cool from a armor standpoint. It was all very how can I put it to words? Bold, glorious kind of things like that. Deus Vult, Deus Vult, whatever. I think that the game nailed those things, and we can even tie this into with the exploration of zones. Now, what I mean by this, I do not mean the zone designs as it pertains to interconnection. I strictly just mean by this of the way they look and how and how it relates to the themes the game presents. So I really do feel like that the game really nailed the way that the zones felt as you went through them, the way they looked, the way that they were presented. A lot of it really did feel very you're this righteous crusader going through these heretical lands to get rid of Satan. That's basically the underlying story. And then while you're exploring these things, you see a lot of themes as it pertains to the ones that are basically glorifying Satan. Let's just call it their Satan for the sake of the notes. You can't see that. Give me 1 second. So I do feel that the game did a very good job of presenting those things. And We can also include the way that the game handled its sound design. For instances, when you're walking through a cave, the pitter patter of the water drops coming from the ceiling, or the way that you can hear the creeks flow, or the way that you can hear the chantings from the Adir fanatics, the way that you can hear things when you use the lamp, and you can almost kind of like feel that you can feel the ones from the umbral realm kind of hitting the back of your head. I think that they did a very good job, and I really do feel like that these two things were probably the main focus, as these two things were by far the best aspects of the game. Um, Another thing that I would definitely find that are pros would be the armor and weapon designs. So I really do find it very cool, and the designers did a very good job keeping all of the designs and weapons to keep the designs of the armor and the weapons in line with the overarching theme, and that is they're obviously trying to present this dark Catholic setting. I think it was very interesting at how they incorporated the use of the thorns, and the use of the overall martyr aspects when it comes to when it comes to Catholic symbolism, and it was really cool to see it. I really did enjoy how the usage of you know Jesus' thorns and the spells wrapped around the weapons. Everything really did feel like we're here to we're here to have a penance. We're here to atone, and the game did a very good job presenting that through the armor and through the armor and the weapon designs. Particularly ones that I did notice was when you go and fight the mobs that were able to coat their weapons in the holy damage. If you look at their heads, a lot of their heads kind of resembled the penitent one from the blasphemous series, and I thought it was really cool. It was a really cool callback, and obviously the devs did their work to keep things historically accurate for the theme that they're trying to present. So props to them for that. Another thing that was really good was you know I wouldn't even really say that I really wouldn't even say that was good. Um, I mean, other things that were good was just, I mean, yeah, that's really it. Honestly, I mean, the voice acting was really good. They did a very good job of the voice acting. They did a very good job on the NPC designs. They did a very good job. They did a very good job at everything that encapsulates the game and its theme. Right. So everything from the way that the world looks down to the way that the NPCs interact with the world itself. The bad. We have a lot of it. The bad. Level design. As it pertains, and I guess we can overall encapsulate level design with you know um, mob density, world interconnectivity, um, and just overall world interaction. We can also pertain that to the vestige rest, use of umbral seeds and where they're placed, enemy placement. I guess it can be fair to say to encapsulate all that into level design, because that overall makes, you know, the world in itself, as you actually go through it, engaging. And I think I really do think that the devs need to go back to the drawing board for their next entry on this, or they can fix it with future updates. But I really do feel like that these things really hurt the game, because for one, the game the game is very large, and it is too big for its own good, and it ultimately suffers the same thing when it as Wu Chang, and it ultimately suffers to the reason why Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree got a bad rep from. Sorry, I'm thinking as I go. See, it's the main reason why Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree got the bad rep that it did as it pertains to exploration, because the world does not present enough benefit for exploring. So, what I mean by that is, as you're progressing through all of these different, winding caves or alleyways in the cities, or using the umbral to progress through, there really hasn't been any benefit as to going all your way out of there. And then, as you are going through, and I'll add this as well, as you're going through this, the mob density and variation makes it to where you are fighting the same mob over and over again. B, there isn't enough mob variation to make it interesting, and there just isn't enough mobs there to even warrant it. So when you do go there, you're fighting one mob, and then you're walking for the next 2-3 minutes, and then you fight another mob, and it's the same fucking mob that you just fought 2 minutes ago. And then the way that the world interconnects with each other is so meaningless that the world is basically creating shortcuts for the game is creating shortcuts for reasons that doesn't benefit you in terms of progression. So, for instance, once you get to Calrath, and once you get to Upper Calrath, after you light the beacon there, it you follow the same progression to go up to the lift, and then it just basically brings you right back to Skyrest Bridge. And then when you get to Skyrest Bridge, it brings you to essentially you got to go down and up and around, and it doesn't really make sense as to why you're there again. It doesn't make sense. And the game is presented with you having to go, destroy these 5 beacons. For one, it takes you a hell of a long time to even get the key to explore these other zones, which it should have just been a linear experience to get it. Two, two, the game creates redundancy in the way that it interconnects, because you somehow always end up in the same place that you've been before, and you really don't need to be there. Which is exactly what happened to when I lit the beacon. I went and used the key at one of the bell spots that I thought I was supposed to go, but it came to just be an area where I quite literally got roadblocked by a gate that couldn't open unless it was from the other side. So I literally wasted like 2 hours of going out my way to go explore, and it didn't mean anything for me to go there. But and then the only way for me to go was to go use a to go warp to a vestige that I've gotten at the beginning of the game to then go open up the bell door there. It made no sense at all. And the game does that a lot. A lot. And then getting into world interaction. For one, the way that the vestige rests are designed, they quite literally blend in to the world. There's a reason why one of the main reasons why Dark Souls is such a successful franchise is the way that it designed its world when it pertains to clarity. And when you're using these fires, whether it's the bonfires or or the rest in Elden Ring, I forgot what they're called. Those things are supposed to create a sense of peace when you see them. Meanwhile, this game, a lot of the vestiges, for one, the the way that they're designed is really nice. It is really cool. They all have names. They all have lore. They're the vestiges are essentially fallen lamp bearers, and we're just using them to pick up the pieces and proceed forward, right? But they are designed in a way that they quite literally are masked in the world. So you're constantly looking for them in a in a Souls game, and Souls games are meant for the stressfulness of exploration. But the main difference is let's just say in Dark Souls, the very first one, the peace that came upon finding a bonfire was like nothing you felt before. And that was the really big draw. Everybody's like, where's the bonfire? Where's the bonfire? And when you saw it, like you physically can see it, it stood out amongst everything else in the world. It was like, oh my God, there it is. Meanwhile, this game, it feels as if you have to go out your way to find them. And you have to go out your way to look for them because they are quite literally just so engulfed in the world itself. Let me see. So yeah, this right here is the perfect example. Fuck, where's the picture? Yeah, this right here is a perfect example. I almost missed this vestige because it sort of blends in with the thorns and the briar and everything about it when it's unlit. Or this one, like this one is perfect. Like this one is perfectly like a perfect example. If you take away that light, you will not see that. This is an even better example. Even when it's lit, it's hard to see. So imagine if it was unlit. This one as well. Like these vestiges are just designed in such a way that they actually make it like they actually make it complicated for you as a player to even see them and engage with them. So that's my thoughts as it pertains to vestige rest. The second one is the use of the umbral seeds and where they're placed. What I mean by this is the mechanic where you use the seeds to plant a rest. I do not, I do not like that. The reason why I do not like it is because the way that the mechanic is designed is that it is revolved around a finite resource to plant them. It would be much different if you were able to if the seeds were basically infinite, but yet the plots of grass where you can plant them were a lot more scattered. Because Once I got the hold of this mechanic, I noticed that these were everywhere. And I think that this is where level design comes into play, because the devs should have used their level design to basically, the how can I say this? The devs could have done a much better job at placing the vestige rest throughout the world, rather than placing the vestige rest few and in between, and then using these umbral seeds every time. The vestige rest, because the vestige rest is are have lore with them, but they should have been there should have been more of them. The vestige rest should have been what the game was about. The vestige rest should have been a prominent engagement item throughout the game, rather than, you just find them one in between and then you can use them. Because if you have a good bit of these umbral seeds, you literally have no reason to interact with these rests, because the umbral seeds do everything that the rest can do. So I really do feel like that the use and placement of these vestige rests was very, very, very poor. And my advice to the devs would be to focus more on the quantity and the placement of the rests, rather than the use of the umbral seeds, because the vestige rest and lore are fallen lamp bearers. They should be everywhere. So, and then furthermore into placement would be the enemy placement. I think I think what really hurts this game are when you're when you're going throughout the world, the way that the enemies are placed make it more of a nuisance to actually fight them and engage with them than it is to just run past them. And then this game suffers really bad with the use, and I don't even know why they do it. And I'll say this as another bad, is they focused they focused entirely way too much on their enemy placement to troll players. Entirely way too much. And this is what I mean by that. So for instance, when we get to Mornstead, let's just say when we get to Mornstead, right? A lot of what was happening is they began introducing those serpent archer enemies. So as you're getting, I'm gonna make a lane. I'll make a lane. So as you're progressing through here, you have an enemy to fight, and the enemy is definitely one of the mini bosses. Let's just say it's a big sword guy. So you're fighting this guy, and you're fighting this guy, and then way back here you have a serpent with a bow, with a crossbow, and this is my serpent. So as you're fighting this guy, jumping, rolling, he's constantly shooting at you. And then not only is he shooting at you, he is incredibly overpowered. In my opinion, he's incredibly strong. He will shoot you with the bow and he will throw bombs. And then this guy already, which is another problem that this game has, it is basically an elite. So as you're fighting an elite, you have this guy just propelling you with bows. So okay, cool. We'll take that, right? Well, we'll take that, and then we will begin to move back. We'll just move back. Okay. Well, the issue is the snake will physically start to move and then continue to shoot you. And then not only that, the range of which the range mobs aggro is very, very large. So, for instance, I can literally be right here. This guy will literally see me here and then already begin to start shooting at me before I even interact with this guy. So that's what I mean by enemy placement. That's exactly what I mean by enemy placement. What would have been a better fit? What would have been a better fit is you have this, and then this area here is larger. But you have a ledge that this serpent guy is now shooting you from. Now, the good thing is as you're fighting the big guy with the sword here, this guy is getting blocked by his ledge. And then it makes it to where this arena, we can just close this in a little bit as well. This arena is big enough to where you can fight him. And then let's just say you move here way too much, then you'll aggro. But yet you still have the option to fight this guy. I just think that the way that they design these, like, and I'll reiterate, focus way too much on trying to control the player and keep them on their toes rather than just making a fun, engaging experience, because that's what it's all about. And I think a lot of these Souls devs are forgetting that. Creating a fun, engaging encounter rather than just trolling players and ultimately creating, which ultimately just leads to ganking. And gank fights in no game is not fun. In any game, it just is not fun at all. Boss design. As a Souls game, the boss design is pathetic. The boss design is incredibly pathetic. And one of the main reasons why it is so pathetic is because I think the developers are they're ultimately just way too focused on the way that the boss looks rather than the overall encounter itself. Every single boss or every single important boss had a very, very cool design. Very cool design. But when you go and fight them, they're literal punching bags because they provide very little to zero challenge, and there is nothing in the game that even leads up to fighting the boss. You know, and this also this also leans into the level design and world interaction, because if you take this as a if you take this if you take the good things from Elden Ring, one of the great things that Miyazaki does with the Souls games is that each level and all the NPCs and everything around it build up to the fight that you build up to the fight that you are then going to have. For instance, when you go and fight Godfrey the Grafted, when you get into Stormvale Castle, the entire theme of that are grafted enemies. You see how he, or Godric, I should say, you see how Godric, is absolutely infatuated with his father, Godfrey. And you see how, he is very into this, being the Lord of Gold. He wants to be the next Elden Lord. Like you already know, holy fuck, like whoever I'm about to fight now is whatever. And they also use the items. They use the way the castle's laid out. They use the overall themes of, this really sickening monster. And when you actually get to fight Godric, that's when you're like, holy shit, here he is. Like this is a guy who I've been hearing about since I literally just started the game and got into Stormville Castle. This game does not do that at all. So every single boss that I have fought, it literally felt like I just dropped into an arena and then a boss spawned and then I kill him. And then that's it. That's it. There and then there that leads into having no connection to the boss itself at all. One of the most cinematic fights in early Dark Souls was Ornstein and Smough. Ornstein and Smough literally sacrifice each other. Depending on which one you kill, they sacrifice each other to keep you from getting the Lord vessel to then becoming the new Lord of Fire. Because they are King Gwendolyn's best knights. And you feel that connection, and then you feel that connection when you then go lay the Lord vessel down. You feel that connection when you go and fight Gwendolyn. You feel that connection when you go fight the four lords to get them. Like you feel all these things. This game does not. And it's really sad because this game presents itself as this large overarching story and all these characters that you interact with, but you feel no connection to them. And it's ultimately really, really fucking boring. And then the overall actual fights themselves are just so boring and so mind numbing. Like I could probably literally hand my controller to my fiance and say, do your best, and she'll probably get it in like 2 or 3 tries. Each boss is a 1 to 2 move set boss with a with an intermediate buffer that you have to run around and dodge, and then you're back to square one. There is no presentation when you go into an arena. There is no overarching story leading into it. There's nothing. It's just like you just dump into an arena and then that's it. So, and ultimately, I really do think that just the boss design itself just really killed the game. So, I mean, another thing that they worked on, which I know is just the overall movement. Like I fucking rolled myself over a cliff multiple times because when I go hit somebody, I try to roll back, but it rolls me forward. But other than that, the movement felt okay. Like the movement felt okay. I heard that it was really bad, post 2.0. So yeah, but yeah, I think ultimately these three things is what makes a Souls game, and they absolutely dropped the ball on all of it. So if I was to say, if I had any advice if I had any advice to devs when they're making their own title, is focus more on the encounter and engagement rather than the looks. And this pertains to every aspect that was bad. To level design, boss design, and even the movement. This game had a fuckload of ladders, but every single ladder was so short that you could have just jumped off of it, and there was no reason for you to even use it. It was a waste of time. The game had a very very good and clean presentation, but it ultimately lacked in everything that makes a Souls game a good Souls game, a good Souls game. I've Throughout my entire playthrough, I felt no connection to any of the bosses. I felt no connection to the world, to the NPCs, to any of the bosses. I felt that the attribute requirements are way too high for the weapon progression throughout the game. I felt that the amount of sets, like armor set that you were able to grab, were very, very scarce. I literally ran with my starting set for a majority of the game. Um, I know I only have four. I mean, it looks like I have 4.5 hours in it, and I know the game looks to be 28 hours long, but the game was just incredibly boring and it lacks. The game is obviously in a very good place. I just think that it needed a little bit more time to cook. But I think they were just way too focused on the things that really didn't matter. When it comes to creating an action game. So I think so. My main advice to the devs would be to focus more on the encounter and the engagement, along with world building, than making the game look good. Because ultimately, this game is basically, a very ugly pig with incredibly good looking makeup. So that's it. Um, would I recommend this game to anybody? I mean, I would recommend this game to somebody who has Game Pass. They want to try a good action game because whatever. I would also say, hopefully that they, take the advice of the players and they continue to keep working on their things. And um, I mean, my score for this game, I would definitely give it a solid 6 out of 10, solid 6 out of 10. So yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping by. I will be back on tomorrow. On sale buy at least, if not Game Pass. I would buy it if it is on a very good sale. I would buy it if it's on like a very 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 good sale. But I wouldn't do it. Um, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't buy it at full price. I mean, I think what the game provides. I mean, $30 is a good price, but no, not that much. So, um, another bank stream. He said, yeah, thanks. And I'd also like to say too. Another thing that I really found bad was the lamp mechanic. I felt the lamp mechanic dampered. I felt that the lamp mechanic dampered the flow of the game to the point to where it was more than a nuisance than an actual fun. And I really don't like the usage of the lamp as it pertains to combat because it absolutely fucking destroyed the flow of the game. So yeah. But other than that, that's it. I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.